Imagine travelling all the way from Ireland to Rome, only to be sent immediately back home. That was the fate of Donal O'Clery, one of the many Dominican friars who lived, prayed and preached in this place for some 400 years. We're here in Aghaboe in County Laois, a name that turns up very early in history. In the 8th century, an abbot of Iona writes about St Canis, the founder of this monastery, and he explains to his non-Irish speaking readers that Aghaboe means the little field of the cow, or he writes in Latin, Campulus bovis. Like all Irish monasteries, Aghaboe had its ups and downs, and it experienced many attacks and fires, especially from the 9th century to the 12th. In the 12th century, a new kind of religious order moved in, taking over from the older monastery. They were the Canons Regular of St Augustine, and their church building is preserved to this day by the local Church of Ireland community. But in the 14th century, a Gaelic chieftain by the name of Finian mac Galliforic conquered this territory, took it back from English possession, and set up an entirely new community here, a community of Dominican friars dedicated to the Holy Trinity. The first prior of the community here was a man by the name of O'Phelan, and it's interesting that both those names, Fitzpatrick and Phelan, are still very popular names in County Laois. Now, Aghaboe was never one of the most important of Dominican houses in Ireland, and it leaves very few traces in documentary records. But nevertheless, there are signs that the friars here were active and seeking to make this place a vibrant centre of preaching, and they kept the place standing as best they could. They even extended their church. So another prior of the community named Phelan built the south wing of the church just here behind me, where there would have been several side altars for the celebration of Mass. We have a letter that survives that he wrote to the Pope, explaining the difficult financial circumstances of the community here in Aghaboe and asking for spiritual and financial support from the worldwide church. At the Reformation, of course, the community ceased to exist according to English law, but there are signs that, at least at certain times, the friars continued to live and minister in this place. So in 1689, for example, we know the names of 6 friars who lived here, and 2 others had been sent from here to France to engage in theological studies, one by the name of Ambrose Mandeville and another Antoninus Fitzpatrick. Eventually, though, the persecution intensified, and it was only a single friar at a time that could remain in this place, functioning secretly as parish priests. They still carried the title of prior, but they had no community around them. The last one that we know of, a man by the name of Patrick Halligan, was living here as late as 1808. There was at least one heroic martyr from this community, a man by the name of John Keating. He was born in Seville, of all places, to Irish parents. He joined the order in Seville, and he could have stayed there in safety, but he chose to come to the Irish mission, even though it was very dangerous. In the 1680s, he was preaching the gospel here in Aghaboe, but by 1699, he was arrested in Dublin and convicted at the age of 60 or so, convicted simply of being a friar. He was held in Newgate prison for 4 years, and there he died. And what about Donal O'Clery? He turns up in our Dominican records in Rome in the year 1506 because he arrived in Rome as a pilgrim, but without any of the permissions that Dominican friars were supposed to have before they left their priories and went on pilgrimage. So the master of the order sent him straight back to Aghaboe, but he was kindly about it. He added a little note saying that none of his superiors were to give him any penance, because the journey from Rome to Aghaboe was penance enough.